Welcome back to Pulse of the Planet, bringing you the latest news from around the world. Georgia's economy was once rooted in agriculture and old manufacturing, with generations of families working the land or in textile mills that dotted the countryside. For decades, these industries shaped the state's identity and provided the backbone for local communities. But by the early 2020s, the state set its sights on a new future: green technology. The winds of change were blowing, and Georgia was ready to embrace innovation, sustainability, and a cleaner way forward. State leaders aggressively courted international investors, aiming to transform Georgia into the battery belt of the American South. They traveled the globe, forging relationships and building trust with industry pioneers. The vision was bold: high-paying jobs, a cleaner environment, and a thriving tech-driven economy. It was a promise of opportunity for both urban centers and rural towns alike. Georgia offered land, a ready workforce, and a business-friendly government, quickly attracting global giants in the electric vehicle industry. Incentives and support made the state a magnet for innovation. Rural landscapes changed as massive, state-of-the-art factories rose where farms once stood. The transformation was visible, reshaping skylines and creating new opportunities for local residents. Local businesses flourished, and optimism swept through communities long left behind. New customers, new energy, and a renewed sense of pride filled the air. Georgia was no longer just an agricultural state. It was becoming a key player in the global green tech supply chain. Products made in Georgia were now shipped worldwide, carrying the state's name into the future. This transformation was a testament to strategic planning and international partnership. Collaboration and vision turned ambition into reality. The state's gamble was paying off, setting a new standard for economic reinvention in America. Georgia's story became an inspiration for other regions seeking renewal. Georgia was on the verge of a sustainable, prosperous future, one built on innovation, resilience, and the hope of a new economic dawn. At the heart of Georgia's green revolution was a historic partnership that would reshape the state's economic landscape and redefine its role in the global clean energy movement. Hyundai Motor Group and LG Energy Solution joined forces to build a $4.3 billion EV battery plant in Elabel, Georgia, a project that quickly became one of the largest single investments in the state's history. This wasn't just another factory. It was a world-class facility, equipped with cutting-edge technology, and designed to be a cornerstone for building a robust domestic EV supply chain in the United States. The project promised thousands of high-skilled jobs, from engineers to technicians, and a massive economic ripple effect that would benefit local businesses, schools, and families across the region. By producing next-generation batteries right here in Georgia, the plant would power Hyundai, Kia, and Genesis EVs assembled throughout North America, making the state a vital hub in the electric vehicle revolution. The investment aligned perfectly with federal goals to onshore advanced manufacturing, reduce reliance on foreign supply chains, and strengthen America's economic security for the future. Construction rapidly transformed hundreds of acres of rural land into a sprawling city of industry, symbolizing not only progress, but also the enduring strength of the U.S.-South Korea alliance. The plant became a flagship for international partnership, technological advancement, and shared prosperity, attracting global attention and inspiring similar collaborations. For Georgia, this was more than an investment. It was a beacon of hope, signaling a new era of opportunity, innovation, and sustainable growth for generations to come. The future of American manufacturing was being built in rural Georgia, where tradition meets innovation and the promise of tomorrow is taking shape today. Building a cutting-edge battery plant required expertise found only in South Korea. The Hyundai LG facility depended on engineers and technicians with unique knowledge to install and calibrate advanced machinery. Georgia's workforce was ready to learn, but the initial setup demanded skills unavailable locally. These foreign specialists were essential for launching the plant and training Americans to take over. Their presence wasn't about taking jobs, it was about creating the foundation for thousands of future American jobs. Without them, the factory would remain an empty shell. The project hit a wall. America's visa system wasn't built for short-term, highly specialized technical experts. Hyundai and LG struggled to secure the right visas, facing delays, caps, and confusing rules. Some technicians arrived on visitor visas, which strictly prohibited hands-on work, leading to legal gray areas. The disconnect between economic ambition and immigration policy created risk and uncertainty. Federal rules clashed with state efforts to welcome investment, threatening the project's timeline and budget. Companies warned that visa delays could derail the entire venture. America's outdated system failed to support the very talent needed to rebuild its industrial base. The stage was set for a dramatic collision between economic goals and immigration enforcement. On September 4, 2025, the Ellabelle plant fell silent as federal agents swept through the gates in the largest immigration raid in modern U.S. history. The early morning air was thick with tension as dozens of law enforcement vehicles surrounded the sprawling facility, their flashing lights reflecting off steel beams and unfinished walls. Hundreds of workers, including more than 300 South Korean specialists flown in for their expertise, were detained on suspicion of visa violations. Many had arrived just months earlier, eager to help build what was promised to be a world-class manufacturing hub. News footage captured the surreal sight of elite engineers and technicians in restraints, a jarring image for a project celebrated as a model of international partnership and innovation. The raid brought all work to a sudden grinding halt. Towering cranes froze mid-air, heavy machinery sat unfinished, and the once bustling site was transformed into a ghost town almost overnight. The Trump administration defended the operation as a necessary act of strict immigration enforcement, insisting there was no room for exceptions, even for projects of national economic importance. Executives from Hyundai and LG who had invested billions and staked their reputations on the project were blindsided. In a matter of hours, they halted all further plans and ordered the remaining staff to stop work immediately, unsure of what would come next. The $4.3 billion project, once a beacon of hope for the region and a symbol of global cooperation, now faced an uncertain and precarious future. With the loss of essential technical staff, the factory was left paralyzed. Assembly lines sat empty, and the hum of progress was replaced by silence. The message sent by the raid was unmistakable. Even critical economic projects, no matter how vital, were not immune to the administration's hardline immigration stance. The immediate aftermath was one of industrial paralysis and deep, spreading uncertainty. The future of the plant, and the livelihoods tied to it, was suddenly in question. The dream of transforming Georgia into a green tech hub, a vision years in the making, was now in serious jeopardy. Its momentum abruptly stalled. The consequences rippled far beyond the construction site, shaking local businesses, suppliers, and families who had pinned their hopes on the plant's success. The fate of the project, and Georgia's economic future, now hung in the balance, with the entire community left waiting for answers. The raid sparked outrage in South Korea, just days after a major US-Korea summit. Images of detained engineers fueled protests and demands for their release. The South Korean president condemned the raid, warning it would chill future investment in the U.S. Seoul summoned the U.S. ambassador and demanded swift action. The incident strained decades of alliance, turning economic partnership into bitter conflict. Other Asian nations joined in, seeing the raid as a sign of America's unpredictability for foreign investors. The Trump administration's offer to let specialists stay if they trained Americans came too late. Most Korean technicians chose to return home, traumatized and disillusioned. The goodwill that built the project evaporated, replaced by fear and resentment. America's reputation as a reliable partner was deeply damaged. The Georgia raid exposed a core conflict: America's need for high-tech growth versus rigid immigration enforcement. The stalled plant became a warning to global investors. Essential talent could be swept up in political crackdowns. America's reputation as a stable, welcoming place for innovation was shaken. Business leaders called for urgent reform, including special visas for critical foreign experts. The lesson was clear: economic ambition and strict enforcement must be balanced by smart, forward-thinking policy. Without change, the U.S. risks losing out on the partnerships and expertise needed for the industries of tomorrow. The future of American industry depends on getting this balance right. Otherwise, more dreams like Georgia's could be shattered.